Welcome to The Leads Are Shit. This is a real estate magazine podcast with the owner of Real Estate Magazine, Andrew Fogliato. Andrew is also the founder of Just Sell Homes, which is a real estate marketing company that realtors use so that they can just sell homes. And my name is Taylor Hack. I'm a team leader in Edmonton, Alberta, Canada, and kind of a local, well, I guess not even a local nerd anymore. I'm like a national nerd.
International.
International nerd.
It's the best kind.
Uh, and we're always trying to figure out how to do things. Like right now, my goal for 2026 is to get really close to selling a house every other day.
That's it.
Uh, we've
Just do
been
it
pretty close.
every working day.
We've done
Business
it every
days,
working day.
every business day.
I
Like
like the phrase every day and twice on Sunday, but
that's fair.
we'll get there.
We're going for 1,000.
Yeah. Well,
Yeah,
you know what? When you have a couple of friends that do that, like one of the things I've learned is that I don't want to do 1,000 anymore.
that's fair.
Maybe under certain circumstances, but with this business, the way I like running it, I would rather run a small team that is not so much like a Walmart type thing.
Yep.
So that's kind of where I'm going more. And then the other thing is I'm actually kind of happy to be back in the action. But I'm also, I want to build things.
It's
So
fun.
yeah, so I keep working around these different ideas. But thank you so much for holding the fort last week. I had a mild case of death. I still kind of sound like junk.
You can
Um,
barely tell.
but the Tom was awesome.
Yeah, no, he was great. And for those who were here, especially if you stay for the after show where we talked about his listing presentation being put on YouTube, he messaged me. It's going live on YouTube today. Fast execution. So you should check that out. Should be pretty good. And then because he shared this tip with me after, which I think is actually a really good one. I put it in my newsletter on Tuesday. For the first 48 hours, he does one title, and that's for his subscribers because they'll get like new video from the Tom Story show. After 48 hours, he then switches the title to a more SEO friendly one to be more discoverable to people. Thought that was really smart. He said it'll get a
And
couple
that's a neat
thousand views.
mechanism
Yeah.
because what the algorithm on YouTube is actually looking for is that early adoption.
Yeah.
So he's playing to it because the SEO title is spicy and may not actually be clear enough for his audience to grip. But if he mentions, like, hey, I just put my new listing video up and I'm talking about why I did it and how I did it, then his own group hops on YouTube, watches a percentage of the video, and suddenly the algorithm's like, man, this is taking up speed. And then at that moment, Tom comes in and he changes like the sign on the front of his business. And it starts to draw outreach traffic instead of nurture traffic. And now he's really off to the races.
Yes. You know what my favorite sign story is for a business? And I'm
Hmm.
pretty sure it's not real. It's one of those like urban
Yeah, yeah.
legends of stores.
The
It's
legends of real estate.
three
Hmm.
diamond stores in the same plaza. Like one, all three are next to each other.
Hmm.
And the first put up a sign saying best diamonds. And then the other put up a sign on the other side saying cheapest diamonds. So what the guy in the middle do? Enter here.
Oh my God. That's funny.
I love the simplicity of it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
I
good.
heard something about that, like with somebody who was selling fruit at a fruit stand.
Yeah.
And they came over and said, hey, I'd like to buy all of your lemons for half price. And they said, well, we wouldn't do that. And then they'd be like, okay, well, I'll buy three-quarters of your lemons for a dollar less than what you're charging. And they kind of made that agreement. But then the people that sold the majority, as soon as they had run out of theirs, the other
Yeah.
person was the only vendor that had that. Like, it's this positioning and being aware of the people around you. Sinek was just talking about that on a short that I watched, and he was saying that we should be less kind of threat sensitive to the competitors because it's not a win or a loss, it's a head or behind. And you're always a head or behind. You know, right now what we're seeing is like maybe a changing of the guard. We see Apple, who traditionally was ahead, starting to look average, and maybe they will be behind.
And now Google's pulling up quick.
Well, man, in this AI race, like I think
Yeah.
that if you would have been placing bets like many investors did a year ago after the Microsoft deal, you'd be like, well, there's nobody who's going to catch ChatGPT and Microsoft.
Yeah.
And Google said, hold my beer.
Yeah. And then like a lot of people when they're kind of competing people go too quick to like drop price, which I think is a big real estate thing. There's always everyone talks about like the downward pressure on commission.
Oh
And
yeah,
and that's a positioning and marketing problem half the time. Like fix that. Offer more, charge
totally.
more, right?
Yep.
Like that's an interesting one. It's just released. They were a vendor at the Remax Activate event, and I've been talking to them a little bit to see if there's something we'll do with REM. Um, it's an interesting product they made, which is insurance on if a buyer won't close. So if you have like a firm deal and
Hmm.
it's obviously 2, 3 months to close, they offer insurance on if they don't. So if they don't close, they'll advance the funds to you to close the deal, still get the house you're moving to, and then they go after the buyer for the breach.
Bridge insurance?
Pretty much, yeah.
Hmm. Weird.
Right? It's an interesting because yeah, I guess basically the guy did a deal himself and he worked in the insurance industry.
Hmm.
And then that's what happened to them is like the issue. And they're like, oh, we should just create an insurance product around this. And they
Well,
did.
that's insurance is looking to try to get in everywhere,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But it's an interesting one. But he was saying like when they first went to market, they were just like marketing it to like homeowners, stuff like that.
Hmm.
And then they figured out the main thing was market it to listing agents to make it part of their offering,
Hmm.
like ensure a buyer closes. So I thought it was interesting. Like it's a interesting thing when those new things come up. But like things like that, if you added it, could be one of those things like you don't have to bring down your price and compete that way. You compete with the certainty of we make sure it closes.
Absolutely. As
Yeah,
they should.
exactly.
And right now, we've got some people in our live audience that are here
We
and
do.
they're competing, not necessarily with each other, collaborating maybe with each other. There might be a few people that are in the same market here, but we're seeing some folks that, well, you guys have
And
become
some new
regulars,
names.
like the
We got some new
Godwintons.
names too.
I think the
They're always
Godwintons
here.
might have an attendance record. Maybe Jennifer
They
Dutton Munn.
must. I think Godwin's
Um,
have it for most episodes live at for sure.
yeah.
With Bridge.
But mind you, they have a competitive advantage with the same last name. Like we don't, is it Miles? You know, who's here?
I think Miles has the most out between the two of them. And Ron,
Hmm.
yeah, Ron probably is competed with Jennifer for second, I would
Yeah.
say.
And Ron's the first one into the comments today telling us
Yeah,
who he is, where he's from, because real estate is a contact sport and location based. So now Ron is the Ron from Vancouver I know.
exactly. We are good to go. Now you wanted to talk. So last week we went deep into video with
Mm.
Tom. So we went, and it was probably maybe a little more on the like advanced side.
Hmm.
Oh, we got Tim in Comox Valley. Tim, have you been live before? I feel like I recognize your name, but I don't remember Comox Valley in our chat
Well, welcome,
before.
Tim.
Thanks for coming. But you want to go deep into because you're obviously trying to get into video a lot next year.
Yeah.
Um, and you want to talk about kind of what you've done, how you're thinking about it for next year. So, what are you
Yeah.
thinking?
And I want to kind of give you a glimpse because if you saw my Notion or my GDoc. Like I have so much that I'm trying to put together. So I actually just started consulting with Braden Wheatcroft because he's a great video guy, so that we can put something together a little bit more organized. And then also, I love working with you on this, like. Because we're going to be able to align this with our Just Sell Homes initiative, and that way we can basically say, okay, let's make an orchestra video. It's really key. Uh,
Yeah.
Here's how I kind of look at it. And I gave some practice into my format process. Are you familiar with format?
You have mentioned it before. I don't remember it off the top of my head now, but you've definitely told me about it.
Okay, so it is basically a way that was developed to help people understand. They developed it in kindergarten, so it can help in
Yes,
kindergartners understand. And now you'll see it throughout marketing. It's hot online as a way, as like a way to explain things. So what it is you start with why. That's always the most important thing. When you're questioning people, like maybe you're doing qualification, you got to stay away from why, because why is a hard question, and that's why they put it first. And then what, so you can describe. and then how, and then either now or next. So once you have this information, now you can go and affect that why. So when I take a look at like why video is important to me, the first thing is scale. The funnel is know, like, and trust. So I want to load the top of that funnel. And now that I've been a prolific agent in my city for like over a dozen years, there's a lot of people that already know me. So just marching that out further is going to be a huge advantage. The other methods like radio, billboards, television, they don't necessarily either even have the same potential or efficiency that video does.
Yeah.
Like it's so hard to compete with.
So I mean,
And
radio I think could because like you're in their car and it's like you're the only thing they can listen to, right?
mhm,
So I think radio, podcast, video, like yes, there's nice things about them seeing you. I think the like intimacy side of what all three create is not as big of a gap as people think.
mhm.
But I think it's harder to get someone to consistently listen to a podcast than it would be to watch like 10, 15-minute videos.
Yeah, but look at the value difference.
Hmm.
Because if you can get people to come to your podcast again and again, like we really feel honored that we're just like in your calendar, you know?
Yeah, it's
Like that
awesome.
is a valuable place to be. And so that would be a massive, massive win if you could get your ideal client profile to be on your podcast, maybe like Joe Rogan does,
Yeah.
right? Like when he goes and does stadium shows, those people aren't strangers. They spend every week with him. They even if his jokes were totally untrained, they're going there to see him.
Yeah. Oh, we have Colby Harrison. Where are others? Where are all others watching live? This is the only place. Now, one thing that we should remind people of, because we see a few doing it, you got to switch your chat to everyone. I think the default for a lot of people is to hosts and panelists. So we actually see a lot of messages that not everyone sees.
Mm.
But make sure when you're sending messages, you're switching it to everyone. Now, I am looking, by the way, Taylor, I'm looking at a new platform for next year. We're probably going to move the show onto Riverside because they are now launching like better live streaming. So like they have a whole lot. Because originally, if you're familiar with Riverside, it's just a podcasting platform that essentially what made them pop was what they do really clever is they record both of us in 4K,
Hmm.
but it records on your own device. And then at the end of the episode, it kind of merges it into one recording. So that like if the internet screws up, your local device still records and uploads for the recording the highest quality possible. So like
Yep.
right now, if Zoom screws up with like my video, you just get me frozen on the screen for a bit. So
Hmm.
not ideal.
And this isn't
So
necessarily set up for that, but Riverside also works like other products like SteamYard, where basically wherever it's being live streamed, if somebody comments, it will come in and you can
yeah,
comment back on the same platform. I actually
yeah,
weighed Riverside against StreamYard when I went to StreamYard a few years ago, and the guy who
yeah.
switched me over was Justin Conoco, who was a big
Oh.
StreamYard fan.
So now Riverside has improved a lot, and now they have some great live streaming options, virtual conference options. They've upped it, and someone on our team just had a big demo yesterday
Hmm.
of the newer version of Riverside. Yeah, we might move over to there for the show.
Yep. And we'd want to hear from you folks as well to see how that would be. Uh,
Yeah,
we'll get feedback from you because I know everybody's familiar with Zoom. That's one of the
yeah,
reasons that we
that's why
went
we
there.
started it. Yeah,
Yep. So kind of cutting back, like I was talking about why with video being valuable, and the other side of it is a lot of people think that social media is saturated with these like Insta agents.
yeah,
Um, they also think that it's tough to get in. But the truth of the matter is the real estate industry is saturated. Like you're already
that's
like if you've been here a while, you're already winning. Success is
yeah.
survival.
Direct mail is saturated, cold calls saturated, not just with real
Hmm.
estate, just the calls they're getting. Like there's a reason people don't pick up their phones anymore half the
But
time.
you got to be above that level of white noise.
Yeah,
So for me, I've been developing towards this in a while. Like this is my third podcast. I've done hundreds and hundreds of episodes. I've also taken courses and had great mentors in professional speaking. And I love telling stories. Like that's actually something that's along the passion side for me. That's a big reason why I like to do real estate. Real estate is people to me. The houses are just window dressing. I understand them, but I'm solving problems for families. So those things are good. The other thing is I really feel a need to like provide value, and I think I can decode pretty advanced shit and explain it at a very accessible level.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I want to roll. So I look at like the what, and I'm basically what I'm going to do is I'm going to do deals with people I've met and people I've met through conversations that start online because of the videos I'm posting. Like that's the idea. Is that they'll just make it easier to come into contact with me, make it easier to think about me, and also it will hopefully raise the bar a little bit so that when they talk to maybe another agent, they might have heard from me enough that they could be like, oh, this guy doesn't really have it.
So are you thinking for video, like interviewing local people?
I've got a list, man, and we're going to kind of craft it out because I look at it a little bit more like an orchestra. So, um, I'm gonna put, all right, so I'm gonna move to the how part, just to kind of skip along here.
Mhm.
Um, so the conversion is gonna mainly happen through DM and through like appointment link,
Yep.
as well as me closing phone calls from DM. I'm either gonna try to get them on the phone right now because I know that that's a really strong closing effort, and if they won't do that, then I'm gonna go appointment link secondary until I have like proven conversion. Then I can go direct appointment link,
Yep.
and iron it out. And then I'm going to try to divide between marketing qualified leads because I'm going to do the response when people come in to DMs and say, hey, are you here for the content? Are you looking to like buy or sell? And that way we have our insiders audience where I can still get them to complete a form and build my database, but file them under marketing qualified lead where they will get content, but not
Yep.
uh, sales approach until they're ready. And then sale qualified leads. And then I'm gonna mainly like be trying to talk to my ideal client profile. So the things I talk about are going to be how I target them because there tend to be people that will choose having families and kids. One of them is a professional. Sometimes we find them when they're buying their first place. Sometimes we don't find them until they're downsizing. But if you basically like looked at them at one of our client events, you'd be like, holy shit, it's like Brian at every age possible. You know, Brian and Sarah, just like the whole
That's how you
scope.
know it's working.
Yeah, and I love it because that's like who we're set up. Not everybody values a ride in a Lexus, right? Some people, like we were talking about, they're very price sensitive and they just don't care what the seats are made of or so on. And we're not set up for that because we don't want to be the cheap option.
Yeah.
I've also got information on here. Like I'm going to try to talk to the four different buyer types, meaning like the driver, the analyst, the amiable or humanistic, and the expressive. And then my content is going to like I was kind of putting in what does what. So when I want to build credibility or trust, house knowledge, neighborhood knowledge, market knowledge, and deal knowledge, mainly told through stories. And then also we've been working on case studies and then turning them into case stories and telling stories about things that kind of happen within real estate, then getting people to like me. So the credibility side is the trust part. Getting people to like me is going to be partially with perspective.
Yep.
So choosing a perspective, I like how Seinfeld talks about this. He says great comedians don't care what the audience is thinking about. They don't think every day like, oh, what is the average person that comes to my show doing today? Instead, they get focused on something that's super important to them and the audience has fun with it because they're so passionate about that thing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of how I want to bring it in. I also like I've done stand-up comedy. I might suck, but I'm gonna try to be funny. I'm gonna try to like throw some of that stuff out there. And then I also have to work in this high impact area where you and I have previously talked about stuff like newsjacking.
Yeah. And goes fast with it.
So here's the like so here's kind of the way that I see it when I see it like an orchestra is I've got to do something that kind of keeps the beat, right? And so when we think about the things that keep the beat in real estate, it could be something where I'm doing like infotainment about house knowledge.
Yep.
And there's a guy that's viral on TikTok and he does, there's two people that I like. One of them does, I didn't know this until I was 30.
Yeah, that's a
And
good
it's
one.
like the common things that everybody looks past, but I'm going to say I didn't know this until I was in real estate. And I'm going to like just go deep on like little things with houses that you can kind of just like catch through the smallest edge. And
I
then
think,
the other one
yeah,
is interrupting local news. So we have local news sources, and we also have these like culture news sources, like Yegwave and these other ones that are like real spicy, and our like city loves them.
yeah.
And so with those ones, if it's the video starts and then I cut into it, I'm going to do like a random fact about real estate, just like Justin Nunley does a random fact on TikTok. Again, another viral
Yeah.
creator.
Yeah, like there's other content I think would do really well. Would be like house hacks. So it's very similar. I didn't know this till I was 30, but it's like you are in so many homes. Because like you think about like how a lot of families would want to live. It's like I never thought about putting two dishwashers in my island, right? Like the amount of people like when they see it the first time, they're like, "Oh, I never even thought you could do that." And the amount of people I know that they see it once with families, and they're like, "Oh, I want that." Right? It's like showing off cool things you see in homes for things they can set up in theirs. So you become the like living in the home expert too, right? Like that's another, especially for families, a good way you could do. Be like, here's a little house hack if you have kids. Here's a little house hack if you have kids who play hockey. You here like, right? You start throwing out all those things that make their day-to-day life better in the home. And
Hmm.
there's so it's just finding what those are. And then putting them out. Like there's so many cool things like that that you could do. That's house
And the
related.
I think that those are going to be really good, but they'll take time to collect. I'm in a lot of houses, but the number of houses that has like innovative ideas, that's something that is not rinse and
But
repeat enough.
they don't always have to be innovative, right? Because like
Hmm.
you are taking the perspective like it has to be fresh. It could just be like a lot of people know. Like, okay, I'll give you a great example of a stupid thing that is not innovative, and you'd be shocked at how many people don't know it. The gas on your car, like on your dashboard, where there's a little like fuel logo, the icon. The arrow on the left or right of it to tell you which side the gas tank is on. Do you know
Hmm.
people don't know that's a thing?
Totally.
So like that's like similar things to like that
Yeah,
make great content.
I totally
Like
agree.
yeah,
I think I will run through them fairly quickly or won't be able to find them frequently enough because I want to do a higher frequency.
yeah. Well,
Whereas
that
like,
becomes just part of it, right? Like that has to be
yeah,
part of like an overall strategy where it's like I'm gonna have like how I would do it if I went today. I would try and find one per week. And then you can repeat a bunch of them. Or
hmm,
like there's a home inspector who does really well. And it's every video is just in this week's edition of Don't Do This Home Inspection. And he just turns the camera around and be like, yeah, here's why, don't do this. Super simple. Right? And like you could do similar with real estate, like today's edition of don't have your house look like this before you sell, and then show something. Um, here's things to clean up before you put it on the market. Like
so
next
in
time you put a house
properties
up.
is a big
Yeah.
one. So you're saying house hacks in properties.
Yep. And it could be a combination of like living there better and then little things to make it worth more, sell faster, right? Like if you were to say get a house ready for sale, like let's say, and like let's just use your personal home right now as the example. If you just literally went room by room in your house and filmed everything you would do in that room to get it ready for sale, you could create from like a Reels perspective 50 videos.
I'm sure.
Because it's not getting the whole room ready. Each video is the one thing you're doing.
Hmm.
So like there's an agent, she was famous for it. Every listing she took, um, she would just go and have lemons and limes in a glass bowl, like glass vase in every listing. A 30-second video being like, here's why I do it. It's not like it's that, or it's like, or debunking viral myth. Like, do realtors do do we bake cookies in a home before an open house? Right? Like, let's talk about that. Right? Those little things, like debunking common myths, things like that. You kind of giving that people the insider knowledge that a true expert would have. And it's like so every week we send out the recording of this. It'll go out Monday at 5 a.m. on the REM YouTube channel. I schedule it for 5 a.m. every Monday. Yeah.
Yeah, so another thing that I want to do in properties is visual explanations where you
Yeah.
use like analogies like pouring through a sponge and how much water the sponge holds and then how much comes through as maybe like a definition of too many buyers in a seller's market or something or vice versa.
Yeah. Yeah. The
Um,
more analogies, like, especially because, especially real estate people use insider language too much,
mhm.
and finding those little analogies work really well. Like earlier when we were talking about like APIs and stuff, and like the analogy of, yeah, it's just like you're throwing it into an open window. Um, that like that makes people understand it who aren't necessarily technical. So it's all those different things help a lot. But like as we've talked about this before, I think for speaking is just like collecting stories and anecdotes that you can use over and over again. And when something really hits, you got to make sure to hold on to it. I think where some people like overthink it is like, okay, I've used that story a couple times. I can't use it anymore because people have heard it before. They don't remember. Most people don't remember long term, or like even if they you say it again, okay, are you asking a band not to play their best song? Like you
Mm.
can repeat things. Like I use the cargo cult marketing analogy a lot in my talks. And like I used it at the beginning of every marketing strategy talk I did for like 5 years and then retired it for 2 years and then I started bringing it back again. And I've maybe had two people tell me they remembered it or remembered it from the perspective of like you gave that last time. The only reason I like retired it for a bit was I started doing the same circuit again and
Mm.
I wanted them to feel like it was fresh content. And even if it's like the bulk of the content's the same, the opening story sometimes has to adjust to it. Um, but it's like, yeah, just collect stories. Like, how can I apply it to this?
So I have a few things that might be like rinse and repeat like that. Like one of the things that like those little explainer videos where you're like, this is a craftsman style, like exterior styles,
Yeah.
and go through them. That's something that you can do. Or like when you're out on the street, you could be like, oh, see, now we have one, now we have modern ones side by each. This is contemporary, this is modern. And that's what people mean when they're talking about these things. What we expect on the inside of this house, the modern one, is we're going to see minimalist. It's going to be very flat all the way around. Meanwhile, in the contemporary one, we're going to get a lot more decor, a lot more
Yeah.
architectural highlights inside this house.
So it'd be hard to get it in a lot of like the older neighborhoods, but I'll give you an example of I went back to sales again in my area. I would try to do, but it'd be very hard to get it done. But I got the idea when I was selling because there was an agent in my office who in her desk kept every floor plan from every builder in the past 50 years in Aurora.
Wow.
And what I would do is I would take that. I'd ask. But the idea behind it would be videos like, okay, so you want to live in this neighborhood. Like we'll use Glenway and Newmarket because that's like the most desirable one for a lot of people, or Stonehaven. But Glenway, Newmarket, we're like, so you want to live in Glenway. Let's talk about the types of homes there are here. And then you could pull up, be like, it was built by this builder. Here's the reputation. Here's the types of like common issues we've been seeing over the years here. Here's how the neighborhood's grown. Here's the different models. Then you show like the different elevations of the home. Be like, and then here's the most common floor plans you see in this neighborhood. And it's kind of like that deep dive that shows how much you know about everything in that neighborhood.
Mm.
And like that type of content, because it's also hard information to get, right? Because like if you go online, are you gonna be able to find floor plans and elevations of like the most common homes in each? No. But
No, you're not going to find it with
that's
context. You're
it.
going to find it, but some of it's going to apply to you, some of it's not, and you're not going to know which ones.
Yeah. And you can even show then like the historical pricing of an area. Like it's if you can get that information about a neighborhood, that's amazing information to put out there. And then that, like what we've talked about before, that gets into like school content, right? Because then you'd be like, and the school in this neighborhood is this one. And then it's like, by the way, we've done a video or a blog post about that school. We'll put that in the comments and it sends them over there. But it's like every piece of information they would need. Perfect.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Now, Hmm. You can also react to clips. So if
Okay.
you're looking at stuff online and you see like renovators, um, those things can be good as well.
And then it's not just that too. It's like when we talked before about like newsjacking, you mentioned like, okay, if something happens locally, you can also take national and international news
Hmm.
and give it a local spin,
I
right?
like
Like
that.
I did this, and I think I've talked about it on the show before, but yeah, just repeat ourselves because not everyone's going to remember everything. Um, is I used the Starbucks example from when I sold,
Hmm.
where I think it was Forbes or someone put out when I was selling an article about like homes within X kilometers, or I think it was an American Story. So it was homes within X miles of a Starbucks are worth this much more than homes that aren't.
Hmm.
And so I just said, here's the story. Is that true in Aurora? Because I sold in Aurora. And so I mapped at the time there's only two Starbucks in Aurora. And so I did, all right, here's the radius they're talking about. Here's the value of the homes within that radius. Here's the value of the homes in the rest of Aurora. And it was true that those homes were worth more. And then I just added in the obvious one of they're not worth more because there's a Starbucks. Starbucks puts them in neighborhoods that are worth more because that's their clientele,
Hmm.
right? Because like the kind of initial idea was, does Starbucks make your home worth more? No, that's just their client, so they put it there.
Hmm.
So that one did really well for me, right? Because it's that like it shows I know what I'm talking about. It's in my area, and it's only like Aurora people typically that are going to read that. So it's like, again, can you take something provincial, national, international, and give it a local spin? And even if it's like a city story, can you bring it down to a neighborhood story? Just always take it one level closer to them if you can, and it works well. So like
That's
think of
awesome.
like stuff that's happening in the news right now, like or they talked about like Canada's population went down for the first time since like 1976.
Hmm.
You'd be like, what's the change in Edmonton and how does that impact the market here?
Hmm.
Did it impact, right? Because like for example, Alberta, Saskatchewan are normally when the rest of the country's economy is going down, those are the ones that typically see a higher influx of people. So maybe, and I don't know, you'd have to look this up, but it's like, has that been offset by like interprovincial migration, whatever other population, like international students leaving? Have you guys seen? I don't know. Look it up. That's why
Hmm.
you're the local expert, not me. Um, but it's yeah, finding out stuff like that of just like, all right, what's in the news? How can I apply it locally? And how quickly can I get that out while it's still topical?
Okay. I love it. And now I want to play a little game. If you're in the chat, and Andrew, that's how this game works. Andrew and
Yeah.
in the chat. I'm going to talk about things, and you guys can tell me, what should we do? You can do hot or not, but it's not really real estate. Hot or not's like general. So I listened to a podcast that goes gas or break.
Okay.
Ooh, buy and sell doesn't work because sell shouldn't be bad. Are you going to buy this idea or sell this idea? Is there anything like us that's like yes or no? That's a real estate ism?
Accepted offer.
Do you want to upsize this idea or downsize
Yeah.
this idea? Accept, decline, or counter? Accept or
Yeah.
decline. Let's do accept
Yeah.
or decline.
Deal.
Okay, so the
Or
game is
counter.
accept or decline. I'm going to talk about
Accept,
some of my
decline, or
video
counter.
ideas, and you guys can give it the or yeah.
Let's do it. Let's do it. I should get my son in here who actually does a really good this for ideas. That's how
Oh,
we
that's so
communicate
funny.
sometimes. It's amazing.
If you ever see my daughter doing that, just know that it's
Yeah.
going to be like that scene at the end of Gladiator where she's determining if someone's going to live or die.
Yeah, that's literally my son. He'll like you see like a stuff like a sand on someone's lawn, he'll walk by and be like, it's great.
Okay, so is it accept or decline on a series of I didn't know this until I was in real estate?
I'm
Andrew's an
hard accept.
accept.
Yeah.
The chat doesn't care.
Decline. Ooh, I want to know why. Now
Ooh,
part of this
decline.
is it depends entirely on execution,
Well, we
right?
can't get. I'm going to go through a
Yeah.
hell of a list,
Oh
so
yeah.
we might decode a couple of them. But Tim says he's out. No
Yep.
one else seems to care on that one, so it didn't
I'm
get a
in.
lot of pickup. Um, what about doing hot takes? Here's an example. List price is a lie. It's normally not the price that sellers want because they want more. It's not the price that they'll sell for They'll sell for less all the time. It's the price they think will help them get the most money. List price is bait.
So I'm generally pro hot take, but you have to, and you do, well, and you might have to go further. You have to know your ideal client and what they care about very deeply to do that well. Because some
Hmm.
people start getting into hot takes for hot take's sake.
Right. So hot takes has to be from the perspective of your client.
And it has to be something that like reinforces their belief in you. So like using REM as the example. Our belief with like us is like we are here to serve professional realtors who treat this like a business and are serious about it. We're not here for the hobbyists, the people who get their license because they don't trust realtors, so they're just going to run it through. Like that's not who we like those people with a license, we don't serve them. We serve the people who treat this as a profession. So if we're going to do something that's a hot take, it has to be something that like pushes them forward or helps them, right? Like that's where we look at
I
it.
think the
It's
term is
ha
called shibboleth. And what it means is it shows that you're one of us.
yeah. Do you know who does
So
this really, really well right now?
the
Chris Smith.
mortgage guy.
Chris Smith, of former curator fame. Now he's
Oh, yeah,
something
yeah.
else.
The stuff he's been
If
putting on the side of Starbucks cups.
and well, it's even just like the last, I noticed like the last like 8 months, all
Mhm.
the content he puts out there is like defending realtors to consumers and their value. But consumers aren't his audience.
Yeah, yeah.
All he's doing is to show get realtors to get on his side. And it's brilliant because that's like, and you see it, the amount of shares and saves that are like, you can look at his stats a little bit. Like he's getting it to go viral within his network by showing he has their back. So his hot takes are, I have your back. I'm going to shout this because like a lot of you feel like you can't. But
Totally.
like almost no consumers ever see that content of his.
Yep. I think a guy who's doing that in Canada right now is Ron Butler, the mortgage guy that
Yeah.
swears all the time.
Yeah.
Like, man, is he ever picking up speed? And he says some things that are right outlandish. But you can see that people are kind of looking at him like their grandpa. He's in his 60s. Yeah, you know what? Sometimes you're dead on and sometimes you're real off tone, but we kind of
Yeah.
love you now, right?
Yeah. Well, he's like, and I was actually talking about this with someone earlier of like they were going through media training because they're
Mm.
involved, and I was like, great, you get to learn how to say nothing in a lot of words. People are tired of that, right? Like, so like what makes Ron work, what makes a lot of like the people who are going viral online work is they're talking how regular people talk, and that sometimes they screw up. They show personality. It's not, I'm going to use a lot of words to say nothing because I don't want to be caught in a bad clip.
Mm.
Yeah. Tim Down, he's the Don Cherry of hot takes in mortgage space. That's actually a pretty accurate depiction
Yep,
of
I
Ron.
think so.
Like I don't do a lot of Ron content, but I've seen the odd one.
And that's the same way is like
Yeah.
I'm looking from the outside. I'm not condoning everything he says for sure. But
Yeah.
when it comes down to it, like he seems to be gripping his ideal client and
Yeah.
ripping it, and it does seem to be working right now. A lot of the time it is like Don Cherry where it works until it isn't.
And it's
Until
also
it doesn't.
knowing the
But
platform you're going, right? Because like, so Don, like he's a special, or Ron Butler, yeah. So he's
yeah, Ron
especially
Butler
famous on Twitter. Like that's his main, and then they say YouTube was number two,
and
but YouTube's
TikTok.
top. Yeah, and but Twitter, you won't be that successful if you're not super negative about stuff. It's the negative
You
side
have
of
to
it.
be divisive or polarizing.
But typically you gotta crap on stuff for Twitter
Mm.
in a real estate space. Twitter does well if you crap on it. Instagram and Facebook do better if you're more positive. And there is a shift there. Like even if the message is the same, how you position that message, it's going to do better there. YouTube, it's more just the quality of the video, and that can go either side can work. But I found Twitter especially, you got to be willing to go more on the negative side to do well there. Because that's
Mhm.
like the speed and volume of your hot takes. Um, but yeah. Yeah, it's
So I'm
a
gonna. I was looking at some stuff I can do from the office as well, and so I'm
yeah,
gonna try to do talking over maps and stuff like that.
yeah.
I always watch when we're talking to buyers about, like in our blueprint meeting, and we talk about position. That's something that seems to be like it's the first time they ever occurred to them. They're like, "Oh, I did think as to whether or not I wanted to shovel an outside corner." or whether or not I'd ever live on a roadway that was two lanes. But I have never thought about how the person with the south facing backyard onto the forest has the best position if they're in like a pie shaped lot on a cul de sac in this neighborhood.
So
However,
there's a
this
whole
person is
great content
average.
series
Hmm.
of do you like I'm just looking outside right now. My court has no sidewalk. So there's probably a great ignoring the court part for a sec. Like even just the simple of if you're buying a home, here's everything you want to consider if you're looking at a home with a sidewalk on the front or you're on the side of the road that has no sidewalk. Right? Like, what is the implications of both? What are the pros and cons of each? Which do you want? And like feng shui can be part of it for some. Some it could just be like, I don't want the sidewalk crossing with like the thing that comes by and plows it and like different places like that, those things matter. And like similarly we talk about like the where's the sun? Like on my street or my court, just the way that my driveway is compared to everyone else's, the sun doesn't melt our driveway. So like everyone else's driveways can be like melted and perfect in the winter. Ours doesn't get that benefit, just the way that it's positioned in the court. Again, not a huge, you're not going to not buy or sell, but it's like well, getting people to think about those things and how they could impact. It just positions you as that expert who thinks about things that they didn't. Because at the end of the day, that's
Mhm.
kind of what a lot of people want for their agents, like you having that knowledge that no one else would.
And
That,
asking them stuff like you were
yeah,
saying, like,
have you thought
would you
about
care about
this?
being on an outside corner? And then you have like a
Yeah,
little picture of a snowblower. And
yeah.
then what about in a cul-de-sac? And that's where kids learn how to ride bikes.
Yeah. Well, that was actually why we moved here, as we lived before on like a semi-main street that was on a hill. I was like, well, we can never teach our kids to ride their bike in the front. And now we live on a court. But like
Mhm.
when I was selling, there was a house on a golf course.
Hmm.
And like the thing there to consider when we were selling it was like three doors down, they had to put up a net in the backyard just so their kids could play outside. But where this house was, it was too far outside of driving range and then a dog legged away from them. So they in like 30 years had three balls in their backyard. That's something you got to highlight and talk about with people, especially if they have kids of like, back on the golf course. Well, where on the course are you? Right? Like, could you end up with balls in your backyard? So you're like, what hole is this? How are people hitting? That's something to consider. Um, but like being the person who like, and that there's a great video. Should you get a home that backs onto a golf course? And it's
Bring a
talking about
helmet.
that consideration though. Like, where are you on the course? That
Hmm.
matters. Are you at the
I
beginning
like
of the
that
round
too.
or, people are starting out, or at the end of the round when people have been drinking a lot and your kids are in the backyard? All things to consider.
Hmm.
Um, but there's probably a really good content series around that of like maybe like one long form video on YouTube would be so you want to buy a house on a cul-de-sac. Here's everything you're going to want to consider.
Hmm.
And
Yeah.
then you
Well,
can
I could just
cut
go
each of
deep
those.
on position.
Yeah. Well, I
Yeah.
think that could be
But
at
it
the end of
has
the
to
day
be in
20
like
different
pieces,
videos.
bite-sized pieces.
Yes, like I would do a deep video on like a major thing, right? So like if I was a cottage resident, I know we actually have a couple people here from cottage areas in Ontario and Muskoka. I would have for every lake a deep dive. Every single lake would be like, here's the from everything from like here's north south facing things, here's water levels that we talk about, here's the type of fish, here's the boating restrictions. Like I would give everything and then do like so if these things are important to you, this is the lake for you. If these things are important to you, this is not the lake for you.
Hmm.
And then it's like the next video you follow it up with, if these things are important for you, this is probably a better lake. Click through to see this video on that lake, is what you're building through. And you can do it written as well, but it's like you're kind of doing the same idea at the end of it with like neighborhoods.
Mm-hmm.
So like let's take your farm area. You do the deep dive of this neighborhood's for you if this is true, not for you if this is true. And then you can talk about like, hey, this neighborhood has four cul-de-sacs. Oh, by the way, if you want to learn more about living on a cul-de-sac, go watch my video on cul-de-sacs.
Connie's
And it's
giving you the
just,
thumbs up because she's in
yeah,
Muskoka. She's loving
yeah.
the
Oh,
lake talk.
this is what I want to see someone in Muskoka do. So Connie, take it, run with it. Is do the content around the lakes, and then create a quiz of, is this lake right for you? And then they can answer questions like, do you want motorboats? Do you not want to have motorboats? Do you like to fish? What type of fish? Right? Like it goes through all the considerations someone might have and like really want out of a cottage. And at the end, it pops them out like, these lakes would be right for you. This would be the best lake. And then a very easy, do you want to get a list of homes in that area? Do you want to get a list of cottages for sale on this lake? Simple.
Hmm.
And that type of hyper local content is not really existing online too much.
Um, what else do I got here? Let's do more accept or decline.
Yeah. Oh, Connie
Ooh,
already started it. Stay tuned for channel launch. Yes.
let's
That's
go.
what I want to hear.
And we wanted you to keep us updated. So we're here
Yeah.
to cheer for you. You have a whole community that's now watching in this chat group, and they'll be
Yeah.
here in January as well.
And you can compete with Miles for not only the most attended, but he's also probably the top for most executed ideas he's heard on the show.
Oh yeah, Miles has a launch process.
Yeah. We should
Very spicy.
if there was an easy way to like create a leaderboard for attendees, but then also ideas implemented,
Hmm.
that'd be fun.
Okay, is this alignment with my ideal client profile? How I tell whether or not the agent I'm about to negotiate with has game on the first phone call.
So you really have to know your ideal client profile for that. Like, do they look at it that way, like it's a competition?
Tell me more.
Because some people will look at that as you being negative about the people you're working with, right? And for some people, that negativity turns them off. Others want the shark.
Yeah, and I happen to be the shark guy.
Yeah.
So
So it
those
fits,
other
but
people are probably a little too soft for me.
and that will help attract the type of people you want. So yeah,
Hmm.
it can, but you have to know, like, but
Actually,
like
maybe it's the other way. Maybe the soft people come and work with me because they know I'll do that.
the
But
Karen in your corner
basically,
idea.
this would be like part where I see it fitting in
Yeah.
is the credibility part
Yeah.
because it shows that I have deal experience and what my clients like that actual trust test is essentially market knowledge, neighborhood knowledge, house knowledge, and deal
Yeah.
knowledge.
So think about like where your biggest, how I would probably also take a step back and look at
So
is,
maybe I should make it more basic bitches then?
so take a step back first, go, who's your biggest competitors in the area?
Huh?
What are their biggest weaknesses in their business?
Hmm.
And then hammer how important those are.
Oh, fuck, man. All right. So the one that I will go after then is that there's two types of agents. There's agents that their career is based on finding people to work with, and there's agents whose career is based on helping people. If you would like to find the usual suspects that are the finding people or helping themselves to people, you will find them on billboards. And if you are looking to find the people that actually help people, you will find them through reviews and referrals.
No. And again, it's a very easy approach to just hammer what matters to you and then look at whatever your weaknesses are, just move the conversation away from that. Everyone's got all, like Tim's saying, SWOT analysis.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But always, I always look at that of like, all right, who am I up against? How are we positioned against them? And how can I hammer the weaknesses? That was more on the
Okay.
easy side. REM, we have no competition in Canada, so it's different. Our competition is you going to watch other stuff or reading just like non-real estate news, I guess. It's like my competition would be like the
Oh,
Star
I really want to tell the people how to screw with the agents around them. Like you probably have an agent
professionally.
that's annoying at all of your kids' activities and everything else like that. So if you would like to play with them, then here's a series of questions that you can make use to like trip them.
Yeah. I worked with a client one time and they were a brokerage in an area
Mhm.
with very few agents. It was one of those like rural areas where, like, just for argument's sake, there's 50 agents in the area. They had 40% of the agents in the market at their brokerage already. Of the remaining agents in town, there was maybe 10 they wanted at their office. The rest weren't up to the quality level they wanted. So we drop a pin on the 10 houses of where those people lived and put like personalized recruiting videos 24/7 at it. But for extra fun, he dropped pins on his competitors' offices that were like trolling. And then he had two agents he really didn't like. And he dropped pins on their house with a message that was more like he knew what their style was. And he'd be like, if you want an agent who doesn't do this, 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 and this, I'm the person to
Ooh,
talk
like
to.
it.
And yeah, he was just, and it cost him like $1 a day, but he was like, yeah, it was fun. It got them unseated when I was in negotiations with them. But that's where he was looking at, is like, if I can make them a little bit on tilt, essentially, when I'm negotiating with them. I was like, I mean, it's a bold strategy. Some people will go the other way of build rapport. But everyone's
Hmm.
got their ideas. Oh, good times. Might be an issue with the local board. So the targeted
Hmm.
Facebook ad like that, if you don't name them, you can actually get away with it. Because like he never named them in their ads of like he would just be like you knew if you saw it what he was talking about, but there was no way to say he's definitely doing that. But it was funny. But yeah, there's some pretty funny things we've seen people do when they get petty. So basically, do you want to be the 50 Cent to the Diddy in your market?
I think I do. And you know who I want to be the 50 Cent to?
Hmm.
Home builders.
Okay.
I will never work for a home builder.
Okay.
So I will never be their listing agent. They could not pay me enough. And I like to work against them. So I like it when buyers hire me to represent them against builders because I think that the builders are a carnival game. You walk in, they show you the lot map, they got all the stickers on it, but who knows what the stickers mean? They do. Oh, this one's on hold, this one's already got an offer on it. Oh, but you want to buy that one? Suddenly this sticker can move. So I really want to like decode that and use it to drive a stream of people that'll be like, "Oh yeah, I've been in show homes and it's awful."
No, I like there's I mean, as long as you're good with I never want the builder business.
I've been offered. I've
Yeah,
tried it once. I'm never going back. You guys can never have
that's
me
fair.
again. In fact, I'm so far on the other team
Yeah,
that I might build stuff now.
that works in. So yeah, it's you got to know what the downsides of a message you're putting out is, right?
Yeah,
Like that, as long as you're okay with that. And I think there's a whole thing to content of like you have to have a villain in a story. Like when you look at story brand, right? Like there's a villain.
and
Now,
corporate builders, let's
oh
go.
yeah, it's like every Scooby-Doo video ever.
Hmm.
Um, but it's like that villain doesn't have to be a person. It can
Mm,
be an idea, a concept. Like I look at it with Rev as like our villain is not like this per it's the unprofessional realtors dragging down the good name of the industry, right? Like
hmm.
that's our villain. It's like the pretenders, the people who doing shady stuff, like that's our villain.
See,
It's
that's
that
my villain
group.
too. My villain is the tourist. The people that think I have a house and I have a mouth and real estate is a phase of life.
No.
Those folks, I have nothing for you. I do understand that everybody should come in here and learn, and if that's what you're doing, then more power to you. But I don't see it that often, and I like to eat the rest.
But yeah, it's so like basically go hard on that. Like there's a book we've again mentioned on the show before. Oh, my Rubik's Cube. Um, obviously awesome. April Dunford is an entire book on positioning. It's more meant for like SaaS products.
Hmm.
Um, but it's not just that. And to be honest, it's one of those books like you especially would like this one.
I'm
Is it
literally on
just like,
Audible right now.
yeah, I recommend. She's brilliant. I'd go through it and check it out. She's also a good one of using her name on ChatGPT. If you're like looking at something and you're like you've been brainstorming, you could be
Hmm.
like, I want to be positioned this way. Would April Dunford think I'm positioned properly?
Neat. That's
And it's
something
just
that
like,
will help me.
Yeah. So she's one, like, for example, when I've mentioned before, I have like my council on ChatGPT.
Yes.
She's one of my council members.
Excellent.
Yeah, she's good. Um, and then sometimes I have guest stars on my council for niche things. But it's a really effective one because again, it hones it in through that right lens. But that book's worth it if you want to get into positioning.
All right. So the other thing that we were talking about with video ties into what Tom was talking about in the last episode here, which is where is your video in the funnel? And so for me, when I'm looking at like this, I do look at it like know, like, and trust. And so for the people that don't know me, I'm using those videos of like, didn't know this until I was in real estate or random
Yeah.
facts that interrupt the news in order to get more known and get a shot at being liked, right?
Yeah.
And the being funny and telling stories is really where I'm going to be pushing in the liked part. And
Yeah.
also, anytime that I can do any type of video with a dog, that's a big part of who I am. And so it'll either be my own dogs because they're in the
Yep.
office all the time, or any dogs that I meet. In fact, I'm going to try to set a pace for selfies in my stories with other dogs.
Yeah. I like it.
So then in once we get down to the trust part, that's where I'm going to be doing things like neighborhood knowledge and like we discussed there. And now all of this is mainly going to be for those people that are kind of like wondering if their problems are real estate related. That's very top of funnel. And
Yeah.
then the people that have been thinking about real estate but haven't established a timeline. So we're going to be playing all this short vertical stuff to them. And then as we move down the funnel, there's a couple of things that change. So one, all of like the analytical types have already found their realtor because they plan in advance. So they're actually going to find you on the way down the tunnel. Whereas at the bottom of your tunnel or funnel, turn this funnel into a tunnel. But at the bottom, what you're going to find is the personality types are more likely expressive because they're impulsive, or direct because they don't go and shop for anything until they're ready to buy.
Yeah.
So that's near the bottom. But now what I'm noticing is a gap that I want to play into, which is if you wanted to understand the steps to buying a house, there isn't anybody who's laid it out from start to finish in my market. And it may be specific or different in the other sources they can get.
Yeah. I like it. I would do, I'm just thinking, you're like trying to be like, oh, I should talk, but then I got to keep thinking through my thing. And then I'm kind of just talking as I think more.
That's okay. Here, I have a
Yeah.
list of some of the ones that I'm going
Okay.
to look at. And this is something I worked on
Yeah.
with Tom, actually,
Perfect.
is
Let's
just
hear it.
doing a start to finish about buying a house in 2026. And you name it like that so
In
that people will find
Edmonton.
it in Edmonton. Yes.
Yeah.
Buying a house in Edmonton in 2026.
Yeah.
And I'll probably end up doing three different locations. Buying a house in Edmonton, buying a house in Sherwood Park, and buying a house in St. Albert because
And then
those
you
are
also be
very
buying your
local ones.
first home.
Yes. And then and in the beginning it will just be that. And then it'll also be buying a condo and then
Yep.
selling a house and selling a condo. But based on where our condo market is, and I don't know what like everybody's condos market is here, but our condo market is kind of soft. So I actually am going to
Yeah.
probably really focus on the locations and the houses.
It's fair.
And then what I'm hoping is that this stuff will get them to know and like me, and then they drop into the bottom, and then they see that the YouTube will give them like 45 minutes of me explaining from start to finish how we sell houses.
Yeah. And then just make sure you're teasing those videos in your comment section and at the end of your videos.
So I have to shoot these first and then draw back to them.
So ideally, yes, right? So like
Hmm.
you think of these like assets that are like the bottom of the font. It's almost like a landing page, but instead of like a page on your website, it's another video that builds trust. So it's like I'm gonna put out this big video, and that's why I like start with one that's a little bit more general. So you just have something there. Because at any point you could like maybe the first video is just a 15-minute, here's what it's like to work with us. Here's the process. If you're a buyer, it's this. If you're a seller, it's this. Like super general, high level type of thing. Then you make them more specific later. But then at the end of your video is just a little, by the way, if you are planning to move, I got a video that explains our process in the comments. Just go to the comments and you can check that out. It's that simple of a call to action.
So
Because
this is something. that I've been thinking about, especially like with vernacular, and I would like to give this to the group and see what you guys think. I work with people that are buying, I work with people that are selling, and I work with people that are synchronized buying and selling.
Yeah.
So buying and selling at the same time, by adding that word synchronized, it really seems to like emphasize that it's going to be organized
Yeah.
and in like within a plan. So that's really what we're embracing just on the vernacular side when we're talking to people that are buying and selling. We're like, well, when you work with us, you're synchronizing it. Because man, if you talk to a lot of people that buy and sell at the same time, it doesn't sound very synchronized, does it?
I like because then you can position yourself in that sense of like, listen, some agents, like you were talking about before, right? Of some they advertise to or they get them business to find clients, others to help their clients. It's the same idea. Like some agents work with buyers, some agents work with sellers. We work with those who are trying to synchronize both at the same time because that
Hmm.
presents unique challenges. It's like, here's how we look at which one's right for you, because that could be your situation's different than you go into the parts of that. But it's like, we have to find the thing that lands best for you. And you walk through. But yeah, I think synchronize is a good word for it because it makes it sound. And it's like the better word. Like don't use synergy, but it's like you know what I mean. Like it's buzzy enough, fancy enough. It's a good word. I like it, but
It's
specifically
also
that word.
the end of the hour. So
Yeah,
we're going to wander backstage and get drunk. And if you want to stick around, so can you. It's Christmas time. This is the last one before the new year. So we're actually going to be back on the week of January 5th. And I think the actual date is January 8th.
yeah, whatever it is.
Hey, very
Hey,
nice. I like
well,
it.
well, well. Yeah, that's good. Yeah, we were good. It doesn't fit over the
Excellent.
headphones.
Yeah.
Um,
And we sure appreciate you guys spending the year with us. This was a pilot year. We were figuring our shit out and our show out and our shit show out. And you
Always.
helped. In fact, without your feedback, we really wouldn't have known that this was something that was so valuable. And we really appreciate those that endeavor to be here and part of your schedule. We understand how valuable that is, and we really appreciate it.
And
So
an
thank you so
extra
much.
thank you because we now have also booked for the first time in January. We're doing a live episode at a conference together. So we've been asked to come on stage at an event together.
And we're going to kind of roll this out a little bit. And I'm not sure how we're going to do this, but basically, in the beginning, we're going to come to your events and then we're going to do our own. So in the beginning, if you have a large scale event that's happening and you want to boost it, we've been talking around whether or not we would be a great double MC kit, or if we would do something, and it might be a just a segment like this where we do a live podcast and talk about the edge of sales and marketing, or where we actually turn this into a bit of a game show and bring the fun to something as well. So we're
Lots of
going to look for different
options.
things that sizzle.
Yeah, but we're going to stick around now for the after show. So we'll see everyone else next year because we're not coming back this year. It just happens the next two Thursdays are Christmas and January 1st. So we're not working either of those days. So we will see you when we're back. And unless you're here live, let's stick around for the after show. See everyone else in 2026.